Hey everybody, this is Howard Crampton Jr. with Reunite with Passion, and we're still on this topic of divorce. Now, I know that divorce is probably one of the most painful experiences anybody can go through. I was 20 years old when my parents had separated, and even at 20, I was devastated. And a lot of people might assume that, being a kid, it's worse, and then when you're an adult, it's easier because we're more understanding. Well, even as adults, and I'm sure all of you know just as well, to understand, there's so many areas that we do not understand. We're human beings, and it takes time to learn different aspects of life. We don't know everything all at the same time. There's so many things we have to learn as we grow. And if we're not prepared for the unexpected, such as a divorce, well, guess what? We're going to be equally as devastated as any child, I don't care what age. Well, I don't know where you're at along this continuum in your relationship to maintain lasting fulfillment in it, and which is where I hope you're at. Again, if you're at that point where you've gone through marriage counseling, you've read all the books, and you've joined the support groups, but there's still something intuitively that's calling in. I want to share that with you really quick, is your intuition. I know logically a lot of things don't seem to make sense. Life, this process of manifestation, of how we got to where we're at today, doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Yes, we can track back certain things, but at the same time, in creating new, how miracles happen, right? It's certain things that we just cannot measure objectively. It's all a subjective experience, and so is this intuition. And if something is telling you, I'm not quite there yet, we're right there, we're at the threshold, but it has not yet exceeded, then join my program. Go to www.realloveandmarriage.com. If you're watching this, you're probably here already, in which case, just give me a call at 661-524-6093. Let's go ahead and set up your consultation so we can get you in here and start working with you right away. However, if you have exceeded that threshold and you've made the decision that divorce is the right thing to do, and as I've said in previous blogs and videos, is that I believe that not all relationships should be together. Again, I've met so many wonderful couples who've come to my program, and they were divorced in the past. If they never ever would have been divorced, they wouldn't be here sitting with me learning how to maintain that fulfillment in their relationship. And the same thing with me too. My parents hadn't separated in their relationships before they had met, I wouldn't be here talking to you, okay? But if you had made that decision to divorce and you decided it's the right thing to do, there are a lot of questions. How do I even get started? What are my rights and entitlement? What am I entitled to? Half of my spouse's earnings or property? What is the custody battle going to look like when we start going through that? And then what happens a lot of times too, which is the purpose of this video, is I want to talk about our level of social participation and integration after a divorce. Well, before I get started, I want to share with you two resources. If you're a woman and you're going through a divorce, I'm here to support you emotionally, but as far as resources and information, legal information, I want to direct you to www.womensdivorce.com. Again, www.womensdivorce.com. And for men, there's a website called freedivorcesupport.com. Again, that's freedivorcesupport.com. And you can find tons of information on what the process is going to be like and how you can go through that. If it's emotionally, if there are some limiting behaviors that are coming up for you, and you want to learn to take the right actions, then come to me and give me a call and join my program. I will definitely get you to create the breakthroughs that you need to see more clearly, to feel more intuitively, right? But at the same time, too, logically using that left side of your brain to make those right decisions. Now, with this social integration and participation, what happens a lot of times after a divorce is there are two types of hypotheses. The first one is called a liberation hypothesis, which states that after a divorce, that social integration and participation increases. Well, with psychology and sociology and all these studies, you always have your critics. So there's other people saying, no, that's not necessarily true. There's what's called the isolation hypothesis, where after a divorce, social participation and integration decreases. All right. Well, there's mixed things, and people say this and people say that. Well, there are 4 different types of contacts in which we are connected with, and one of them being our friends, another one our neighbors, our family members, and then business colleagues and coworkers, okay? And then there are also 4 types of levels of social participation, such as outdoor recreational activities. We have social clubs and sports. We have church. We have theaters, restaurants, and bars, which is its own category in itself. We have our voluntary work that we'll go out and serve. And then we have what's called New Age groups, such as self-development, support groups, spiritual groups, meditation groups, and things like that, okay? Well, with these different groups, and depending on who our closest contacts are, again, those 4 forms of contacts, really depends on whether our social integration and participation increases or decreases. Now, why am I sharing this? Well, I'm sharing this because, first of all, if you're not divorced and you're contemplating this, then here's some information, hopefully that will create enough leverage for you to say, you know what, let's stick it out. Let's just try Howard's program. It's like no other. It's not your typical marriage counseling where we're just talking, reflecting about feelings, right? We're not just treating the effects of a problem. We're treating the source of a problem. And I'm hoping that you'll have enough clarity through this blog to make the decision to at least try one more program. This is my program, Reunite with Passion, to really learn deep about how to maintain that fulfillment, or how to get back to where you even started, okay? So with the increase or decrease in social participation and integration, there are a lot of factors that come into it. We began thinking, with our friends. A lot of times certain friends are tied to spouses, right? The other group, neighbors. Neighbors often are tied to the spouse. And then we have our family, which is usually tied to ourselves, and then colleagues, which are tied to ourselves. So we have this 50-50 thing, friends and neighbors, and we have family and colleagues. Usually, social integration and participation may increase with your family and your colleagues because there is not a whole lot of judgment or prejudice in there with the decisions that you made. Our family's always going to accept us wherever we're at. But a lot of times when we get married, what does happen, and studies have shown, is that participation decreases with our single friends, right? We start, when you're married, I can't say we, I'm not married, but most of the time when a couple gets married, they start seeking more activities, and they will participate in activities with couples, married couples, even family things like outdoor activities, right? Well, what happens after the divorce is they start thinking, maybe you, if you're going through this, I'm having a hard time wanting to continue my level of participation with this particular group because they're tied to my spouse. Or maybe they're not tied to my spouse, but now I'm showing up and I'm by myself, right? And I don't want to do all this stuff by myself. So all this stuff, all this crap, I'm going to say, starts coming up. These are all limiting beliefs, by the way. But they're feelings that you're experiencing, and you're associating pain to that level of participation in this group that you used to be really active in. Does that make sense? Okay, so this is where the increase or the decrease happens. It all has to do with our perception of the people who you used to hang out with the level of participation that you used to be active with them, and also, if they're the friend, neighbor, or if they're the family colleague. So your level of participation will increase depending on who you're looking to and what kind of environment that's going to be in. And it's going to decrease if, again, you associate way too much pain and effort or judgment and ostracism to, reconnecting with those people or that certain group. So I'm going to leave it with that because there's so much information and I want to be here to support you. So again, if you're probably watching this on the website, if you're not, this is www.realloveandmarriage.com. If you're new to the site, then opt in at the top. You're going to get your free human needs values assessment, which we understand will help you understand which needs you value most. And again, depending on what needs you value most, your top 2 will determine your worldview, and depending on your worldview is going to determine how you show up in life, why your relationships are the way that they are. So opt in, take your free assessment, give me a call. We will go deeper with these 6 human needs and understand. I'll help you to understand how dynamic they really are and how you can utilize them to improve your behavioral patterns, right? Your thinking processes, the way that you see the world, and even help you understand other people too. All right, and we can go more on this divorce topic. So again, go to realloveandmarriage.com. Give me a call at 661-524-6093, or if you're not ready to call just yet and you have more questions, send me an email at howard@realloveandmarriage.com. I look forward to connecting with you. I'm so inspired to work with you and help you create and maintain lasting fulfillment in your relationships. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.